Okay, let's just dive right in. We all want to know what's coming next in interior design, right? But nobody wants to pour money into a trend that's going to feel dated in like a year. So in this explainer, we are cutting through all that noise. We're going to break down the biggest design ideas for 2026 that are actually rooted in design history, not just some fleeting hype. These are the trends that are truly going to enhance your home, not hijack it.
You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. It speaks to this huge cultural shift that's happening. After spending so much time at home, we're all kind of moving away from those sterile, picture-perfect rooms. There's this collective craving for spaces that feel real, layered and loved. Homes that actually reflect who we are and the lives we live. It's way less about perfection and so much more about personality.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer isn't about one specific style. It's really about three major movements that are shaping how we create these really meaningful spaces. So let's break them down, starting with the most personal one of all.
Okay, first up, this whole idea of the storytelling home. This is all about creating these spaces that have a real narrative, a real atmosphere. It's the art of using objects that mean something to you, and a deliberate mix of old and new to make your home a physical version of your unique story.
And you can see how all these elements kind of work together to build that story. It's not just about having vintage stuff, it's about giving those pieces new life with some personality upholstery. Or maybe it's designing a whole room around a piece of art that just moves you. It could even be carving out a little corner for reading and reflection. Every single choice adds another chapter to your home story.
And this idea really comes alive when you think about sustainability meeting storytelling. I mean, just imagine reupholstering a family heirloom like your great-aunt's old settee in a super bold, unexpected fabric. All of a sudden, that piece isn't just a nod to the past, it's a vibrant part of your present. You're preserving a story while adding your own twist. It's conscious, it's creative, and it's a direct pushback against that throwaway culture.
Another really powerful way to tell your story is through what's called art-led design. For years, the rule was always that art is the last thing you add to a room. Well, this trend completely flips that on its head. You start with a hero piece of artwork, that one piece that just gives you goosebumps, and you let it dictate the mood, the color palette, everything. It is the ultimate form of personalization, because no two people are going to be drawn to the exact same piece of art.
Okay, moving on to our second major theme. We're seeing this clear departure from that stark, almost cold minimalism. There's a return to interiors that feel rich, deep, and even a little bit romantic. It's about creating spaces that feel, well, cocooning and personal. Spaces that wrap you in comfort, which is something I think a lot of us are looking for right now.
And you can really see the shift right here. For a long, long time, the look was all about bare windows and clean-lined, unskirted furniture. But now the focus is all on softness. We're embracing fabric, things like drapery that frames a beautiful view, skirted tables that add a little touch of nostalgia, and even bed canopies that create this cozy, intimate sanctuary. It's really about making a home feel dressed and cared for.
Now, a huge part of creating that moody atmosphere is color. But it's not about picking colors just because they're trendy. It's more of an emotion-first approach. The guiding question becomes, how do I want this room to feel? Cozy, intimate, grounded. And then the color becomes the main tool you use to get that mood just right.
Which brings us to the palette itself. We're seeing this lean into these incredibly rich, soulful jewel tones. Think plum, jade, a deep oxblood red. And the new go-to neutral? It's not gray or beige, it's this warm, grounding chocolate brown. And we're not just talking about the walls, we're seeing this thing called color drenching, where the walls, the trim, the millwork, even the ceiling are all painted the same shade. It creates this completely immersive, cocooning effect. It's amazing.
All right, our third and final movement is a really powerful one, the return to craft. This is a very conscious shift toward appreciating quality, artisanship, and the beauty of things that are made by hand. It's about investing in our homes with an eye toward longevity, really pushing back against the culture of the quick and the disposable. There's this growing desire to move away from all the mass-produced stuff that makes a home feel staged overnight. Instead, the focus is on these refined, heritage furniture forms that have really stood the test of time, on materials that age beautifully, and on creating a home that feels genuinely settled and, well, storied. And a great example of this is adding artful architectural accents. Even if you're in a new build, you can add this sense of history and permanence. And it doesn't have to be some massive renovation. We're talking simple things, like adding picture frame molding to a plain wall, or just upgrading the trim around your doors and windows. It can make a room feel so much more finished, proportioned, and lasting. This quote just summarizes the whole spirit of this movement so beautifully. It's about celebrating those subtle little variations that you only find in things that are made by hand. The brush strokes on a painted mural, the unique texture of handmade tiles, or the sculptural form of an artisanal light fixture. These are the elements that bring soul and that nuanced imperfection into our spaces.
So we've explored these three huge movements: the storytelling home, the moody interior, and the return to craft. But how do you actually start applying these ideas without feeling totally overwhelmed? Okay, let's distill it all down.
To create that storytelling home, you do not have to redecorate your entire house. You could start by just reupholstering one chair or framing a piece of fabric that has some meaning to you. To embrace that moody, layered feel, try adding a single ruffled pillow or swapping a plain lampshade for one in a rich chocolate brown. And for a return to craft, just replace one standard light fixture with a more sculptural, artistic piece. Seriously, small changes can have a huge impact.
Ultimately, all of these trends, they really point to one powerful idea. They invite us to just shift our perspective. So instead of constantly chasing what's in style, we can ask a much more interesting question. What if our homes weren't about following trends at all, but about telling the unique, authentic, and beautiful story of who we are?